getting fired this year? Let's find out. My name is Alex Light with SparkE3. Hope you're having a phenomenal day today, whatever day you're watching this video. I'm one of the hosts of a terrible football show, one of the worst football podcasts on the internet, no questions asked, bringing you a terrible football video today. I want to start doing videos like this on the channel, topics ranging from literally all the sort of shows we cover, so whether it be football, anime, manga, or video games, we're going to start putting out random videos as well as the podcast, and these videos will always be up for early access over on our website, SparkE3.com, so make sure to go to sign up for the website for free or for $5 a month to support us further. We definitely appreciate that. And make sure to also go check out some Rogue Energy. We recently partnered, hey, editor, can you zoom in on the Rogue? Thank you. Oh, thanks, appreciate it. We recently partnered up with Rogue Energy. You can use our promo code SparkE3 to pick up some Rogue, support us further, and make sure to use the referral link down below. Yeah, that's a great way to support us. Make sure to join the Discord as well, because the Terrible Football Show will be starting with live shows here at the beginning of August, every single week up until after the Super Bowl, and we'll be taking on like callers and stuff. Give your thoughts on whatever's going on in the game of football. For today's video, we're going to be chatting about NFL head coaches on the hot seat. Who is in the hot seat coming into this season? Every year, we always have a slew of coaches where it's just like, okay, this guy's going to get fired. Now this guy's going to get fired. Like last year, you know, my team, the Bears, Matt Nagy was definitely probably number one. Number two, I would actually say last year was Zach Taylor, and we saw how he turned that one around. So who is on the hot seat this year in the top 5, and who could potentially turn it around? Now, I will say I do have some potentially controversial picks here for my top 5, but hey, I am the host of a podcast called A Terrible Football Show, so I'm here to give you my terrible opinions. Kicking things off with number 5. Now, let me stress this. Out of everyone in this top 5, this guy right here is the one that, in my opinion, and probably a lot of people's opinions, is probably, you know, going to get knocked out of this top 5 very easily. I think this team's going to go on a run. They're going to do some serious work. It just depends, but, you know, they're in a tough conference, being the AFC, but I do think he's on the hot seat. And when I say the hot seat, I more so picture him in his truck, him in his car, his SUV, whatever. His butt's a little cold and he turns on the seat warmer. That's the kind of hot seat that I'm talking about. His seat's not on fire or anything, but I definitely think it's worth noting that he is on the hot seat. And that is Indianapolis head coach Frank Reich. Look, it's like this, man. You got to look at what's happened since he's been there. Now, granted, you know, you can't fault him for the Andrew Luck thing. Can't fault him there. But after that, it's just been a quarterback carousel, you know, between Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers, and then Carson Wentz. And Carson's going to be the biggest thing that's going to kind of hurt his chances here, where, you know, he's the one who coached with Carson. He's the one that stepped up to the plate and got Carson here, gave up ultimately a first-round draft pick. I know it was a situation of, like, if he played all the snaps, it would turn into a first round, and it did. So they lost a first-round draft pick for Carson Wentz that they traded away after one season. You know, Carson Wentz, who just completely fell apart there at the end of the year. You know, and especially that last game where he had a horrendous game against my number 2 team, Jacksonville. Go Jags, Duval. And just completely fell apart and made them get kicked out of the playoffs, because you got to keep in mind, this is a very good team. So it's just like, man, why would he be on the hot seat? You got a good team. They just traded for Matty Ice, who is landslides of an upgrade compared to Carson. The answer is simple. If they don't make it to the playoffs, if they don't show some serious progress, I do believe Jim Irsay is going to come to that point and start really pointing some fingers of what's going on. You know, who's the problem here? I don't think Chris Ballard would be on the hot seat just yet if it was if Chris Ballard got another chance to hire a head coach, for example, and then that one kind of flopped. Obviously, Chris is out at that point, even though Chris has built an unbelievable team. But like, Frank Reich is going to be the first one where the finger is going to be pointed to. It's just that simple. If Indianapolis does not make the playoffs, there's going to be some problems. And here's the thing also. While Indianapolis is stupidly stacked, it's legitimately possible they're not making the playoffs, and that's the thing. And the reason why I say that is you have to look at the AFC as a whole. The AFC is stacked. There are so many legitimate Super Bowl contenders in the AFC, and of course, playoff contenders at the bare minimum. I mean, just going through it, just talking, you know, playoff contenders alone, we have Indy, we have Tennessee, we have New England, we have Buffalo, we have Miami. Jets could make a run, but I'm not saying they're a playoff contender, but don't be necessarily horribly shocked. They did add a lot this season. It's all going to come down to Zach Wilson, who apparently has got some drama going on. Go look into that. It's kind of funny. Pittsburgh is a potential. I wouldn't put a whole lot of stake in that, but dude, it's Mike Tomlin. You never know what he's going to come out with. Baltimore, of course, Cincinnati, of course, the entire AFC West. I mean, Jesus, all four of those teams are playoff teams. So Indy could legitimately not make the playoffs, and it's just because everyone else is also really good. So if they don't make it, I do think Frank is going to be evaluated and potentially be out the door because, hey, we saw what happened with Carson. You know what I mean? So in my opinion, I think he's worth noting to be here in the top 5. All right, I just want to go get a drink. Yeah, I'll just do a cut here. Do a cut. Bye. Hey, Lucario. Hey, buddy. What are you doing, bud? Huh? What are you doing? What are you doing, buddy? Huh? Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Who's a good girl? Yeah. Good boy. Good boy. Here, boy. Okay, coming in at number 4. Could be a controversial pick. It just depends on your opinions on this. I don't know. I can sit, and shout out to Tyler, one of my co-hosts over at Terror Football Show. He's the one that kind of pitched his argument to me about including this guy up in the top 5. And after thinking about it and looking at some stuff, yeah, you know what? I got to agree. He's going in the top 5, but it could be a little controversial, a little bit of a hot take. And that is Cliff Kingsbury, head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. Look, the bottom line is, yes, this team is pretty solid. It looks like they could go on a run. They made another trade during the draft for Hollywood Brown Collar's college teammate, and that's dope. They have DeAndre Hopkins, who is suspended, yes. James Conner just got extended. He made a Pro Bowl last year. They got some good defensive pieces, of course, like Budda Baker, one of the best safeties in the league. J.J. Watt, yeah, he's getting up in age, but he can still get the job done, among other pieces there on that defense. Like, I get it. Like, it looks like a stacked team, but you also have to look at the past 2 years. You know what I mean? Like, well, it's like, what has he done? In 2020, for example, their bye week was in week 8. Before that bye, they only lost 2 games. So pretty solid in my opinion. But then after that, after the bye week from week 9 to 17, they lost 6 games. Like that's a drop. 2021 is another great example where, dude, before their bye was in week 12, and man, they started off 9-2. I mean, they were rolling. I mean, they before Green Bay, which that close loss thanks to AJ Brown not paying attention against the Packers in Week 8. I mean, they were 7-0, and then they lost the Packers, beat the Niners, lost the Panthers randomly, then beat the Seahawks, went into their bye, came back out of the bye, beat the shit out of the Bears. Not beat the shit out of. I just consider it that because the Bears stink right now. But then they lost 3 straight, and those 3 straight they lost, one of them was the Lions, and it wasn't even a close loss. The Lions beat the shit out of them. So it's just like one of those things of like, what have you done? You know what I mean? Like, if it happens for a third time where they start off hot and fizzle out, like, while yes, they made it to the playoffs last year, they lost in the wild card, whatever. But if they end up fizzling out again, I could definitely see Cliff Kingsbury on that hot seat on his way out the door and looking at the next head coach in there. So just something to watch out for. I just don't, after 2 seasons of this, I feel like this is going to be a make or break year for Cliff Kingsbury and the Cards. Because, I mean, this sort of behavior where they start off strong and finish weak, I mean, it goes back to his Texas Tech days too, which, by the way, him going from a fired Texas Tech job where he didn't really do anything to an NFL head coaching job, that alone is kind of weird. All right, coming in at number 3. This one I feel like a lot of people can probably agree upon. This guy would definitely be up in the top 5 on the hot seat, and that is, of course, Dallas Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. And there's a few reasons why he is on this hot seat at number 3, in my opinion. Number 1, first and foremost, Cowboys have got to do something. All right, let's be real. Cowboys have got to do something if this man wants to keep his job. And I know a counter argument is that, Jerry's a very patient guy. When Jerry wants his guy, he gets his guy. You know what I mean? And plus, look what happened with Jason Garrett. Now, I get it. He was with the franchise for a very long time from a backup quarterback for Troy Aikman and others, or I think it was others, as well as a coordinator in the head coaching position. But as the head coaching position, he was just given way too long with nothing to really show for it. So it could be the same argument here for Mike McCarthy, and that is a very valid argument. But there is one single reason why I would definitely say he could be on a very short leash, and that is simply a name, actually. And that name is Sean Payton. Sean Payton's no longer head coach of the Saints, obviously. He retired. But let's be real, we know he didn't retire. Even in that retirement press conference, he left the door open to return later. This dude is not done with the game. Okay, we know it is. He's just done with that situation because it's a shitty situation he was in. He just lost his franchise quarterback with a noodle arm. Basically in a rebuilding phase. Michael, Thomas was doing Michael Thomas things, I guess. And then the biggest problem, they were like negative $90 million over the cap. I mean, they like up until that point, they were in a win now mode, just kicking the can down the road for the money. So it's like Sean Payton's like, yikes, I'm out, dog. See ya. It's like I'm not going through a rebuild. But he's always wanted the Cowboys job. Everyone knows that he won the Cowboys job before the Saints job. So if Mike McCarthy kind of stinks it up at all, if they don't, basically it's like this: the Cowboys have to make it to the playoffs. If they don't make it to the playoffs, then I would say Mike McCarthy is probably going to be fired. And that's where Sean Payton is coming in after a year in the booth, probably. Okay, coming in at number 2. This is where things could get a little bit interesting here for my video, because who I have here at number 2, I feel like a majority of people have at number 1. So it raised the question, who is number 1 on the hot seat on my list? Well, we'll find out here in a few minutes. Coming in at number 2, we of course have Matt Rule of the Carolina Panthers. Again, most people having him at number 1, and for fair reasons. He hasn't really done anything in his time with Carolina. In fact, in my opinion, he's made them a lot worse. But the biggest problem is they have not figured out the quarterback position. Of course, letting Cam go right off the get-go, signing Teddy Bridgewater to his deal. That didn't really work out. Traded him away after 1 year. Traded for Sam Darnold. Re-signed Cam. Kind of balanced between them. Not really working out there. Picked up Sam Darnold's 5th-year option, so he's due $19 million this year. And then recently traded for Baker Mayfield, who's also taking a pay cut and only getting paid $9 million and probably projected to be the starter. Meanwhile, Sam Darnold's getting paid $19 million to basically be a backup. Kind of a lot of drama there in Carolina. Matt Corral was drafted. Yeah, Matt Corral could be the guy. We'll see, but I don't think we're going to find out if Matt Corral is the guy under the Matt Rule, era. I just don't. I feel like, Carolina is going to stink this year. I don't have a lot of expectations to him because there's going to be a lot of drama at that quarterback position. Plus, again, there are other issues along with the team. There's some solid pieces in the team that's done. They got some good offensive line help with Charles Cross in the draft. It was Charles Cross, right? No, it was Ikem Ikwanu is who they drafted. That's who it was, I think. My fault. But, I mean, they got some solid pieces there. Christian McCaffrey, it's a big question if he's going to stay healthy or not. But, I mean, I just don't see this team lasting with Matt throughout this entire season. I feel like he could be fired before the season's done, as probably a lot of people do as well. I mean, Matt, I just don't think he translated well to the NFL game. And I feel like this is going to be the last year that we see Matt in the NFL. And now with Matt Rule out of the way, it does bring the question, who is number 1 on the hot seat in my terrible ass opinion? Again, just so we make this perfectly clear, I am the host of a podcast called A Terrible Football Show. It's our branding. Terrible takes is what we're known for, but we still have fun, and that's all that matters. Number 1, with a very heavy heart, mind you, very, very heavy heart that I have to do this and have to throw this at the number 1 pick. In fact, out of all of these coaches, this is the only man that in my mind is 99% for sure fired. He needs to go ahead and start looking for a new place to live. I don't think he's going to remain here with this team after this year, no matter what. I think there's only one way that he doesn't get fired, and that's if this team makes the playoffs, which zero chance of that happening, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion. Coming in at number 1 on the hot seat coming into this year is it's my guy, Lovie Smith, down in Houston. Like I said earlier in this video, I am a Chicago Bears fan. I love this man to death. This man is an incredible guy, incredible coach, and I would love to see this guy succeed down in Houston. But you cannot convince me that this is the coach that Houston wanted to hire. You just cannot. This is a lazy hire by Houston. And I say that, and I still want to stress this guy's a good coach, and I think he can be a good NFL head coach in the league. But the problem is it's not him. The problem is the organization. I mean, did anyone know who David Culley was before he was hired? Like, I mean, there was only a few people that I've met that actually knew his name. He was a bridge coach. Lovey's a bridge coach. Kind of like Steve Wilkes was a bridge coach in Arizona for Cliff Kingsbury. Lovey's unfortunately a bridge coach. It was an easy hire from within the organization, from DC to HC, but I just don't see it lasting. This roster stinks, okay, up front. the only way he won't be fired again is they make the playoffs. Because of the situation this franchise has been in, with all pretty much thanks to Deshaun Watson and just having kind of a shitty roster up until now. Last year it was the situation of Deshaun doesn't want to play for Houston, flat out, point blank, simple, kiss my ass. So kind of a tough spot there to bring in a head coach. And then this year, well, we've seen what happened with Deshaun Watson. Again, makes it tough. The trade didn't happen until after Lovey was hired. I hope I remembered that correctly. I'm pretty sure that trade didn't happen until after Lovey was hired. So now they are kind of set for the future with a lot of draft picks. They made some good picks in the first round, obviously, of this draft, and they have more draft picks to come thanks to Cleveland Browns, which is going to help make this team more enticing to bring in a splash head coaching hire next year that Houston wants. And let me stress, you don't have to make a splash head coaching hire to be a successful organization. You just don't. I do believe Lovey could be a head coach in this league for a team and be a successful team, and he wouldn't necessarily be a splash hire. I don't think anyone would say that anymore. This is not on Lovey. This is on the organization. So in my opinion, I think Lovey is by far the number one coach on the hot seat this year, but it has nothing to do with him. It's strictly just the organization as being a backshit organization that has no idea what they want or what they're doing. And that's unfortunate because I love Lovey, but he's just going to be a scapegoat. I mean, he's going to be another bridge head coach just like David Coley would. And I know some people may throw up the argument, oh, dude, Houston's not going to want to pay David Coley, Lovey Smith, and the new guy. Look at the Jets. I mean, do you think they really give a shit? The Jets were paying Todd Bowles, Adam Gase, and Bob Saleh all at the same time last season. I think last season was the last year for Todd Bowles being paid by him. Who says Houston's not going to do the same thing if they can get their guy, whoever their guy is going to be? So that's just my opinion on it, that I just think Lovey is going to be canned because of the organization, but not because of anything that he will do wrong or right. Because, I mean, he did a lot right as the DC. A lot of people, didn't pay attention to this because it is Houston and they stink. But, I mean, the defense was actually balling out pretty well last year, and they were one of the better teams in takeaways last season. But still, I just think he's a bridge, unfortunately. I hate it because I love this guy. I love Lovey. He's awesome. But I just think he's a bridge. I don't think he's going to last after this season, unfortunately. Okay, guys, and that's going to do it for today's video. In my personal top 5 head coaches in the NFL that are on the hot seat coming into this season, my opinions do not reflect those of the other guys on A Terrible Football Show. This is strictly mine, Alex Lights. But again, keep in mind, like I said, this is the third time I said I am the host of A Terrible Football Show. The terrible takes is what I'm known for. Terrible takes is what we're known for. But, we're just having a good time, just shooting the shit, giving our opinion on whatever, even if it's the worst thing on the planet. And if I'm a moron, please comment down below and tell me I'm a moron. If I point out some interesting things, please let me know that as well. Subscribe to the channel, be a friend, tell a friend, drop a like on this video, and make sure to check out A Terrible Football Show, please. We definitely appreciate that support. And, of course, check out some Rogue Energy. Zoom in on the Rogue, please. Thank you. Rogue Energy, promo code SparkE3 for 10% off. Referral link down in the description below. And join the Discord so you can chat with us and talk about whatever you want during the season. Whatever your favorite team is doing or not doing, hop into the chat. We'll pull you up onto the show. We'll chat with you for a couple minutes, kick you out, and be about our way. All right, guys. See you next time. Bye.